Hey, Shalom, Malcolm, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that taught us His truth and that's still teaching His truth. And much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with the 144,000 all the way down to the large multitude that believes and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamah from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, coming back today with another lesson, and I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. I want to do a lesson on this article that you see here on the screen entitled, this is from economiccollapseblog.com, and the title of the article reads, it says, implantable brain computer interfaces are here, and they are a giant step toward the dystopian digital prison society the elites have planned for us. Once again, it says implantable brain computer interfaces are here, and they are a giant step toward the dystopian digital prison society the elite have planned for us. All right, and beginning with the apostles of Great Millstone on down, all the way down to the bishops, elders, and brothers, this is something that, we have been speaking on and saying to ad nauseum. And you have other camps that don't want to take heed to the message, that don't want to take heed to the prophecy, the prophecy is being made plain, is being made clear that this is what, the elite want to do. Ultimately they want to plant an RFID microchip either in your brain, all right, which is where you have the likes of Neuralink, all right, whereas you're going to be able to do particular things like, control your computer, or, like control your computer. It's like a VR, whereas you can be blind or whatever the case may be, which is some of the pseudo miracles that Esau wants to do. Some of the pseudo miracles that he wants to do. Or either in your hands, or your arms, it don't matter. But that's ultimately what the global elite want to do, is that they want to implant you with an RFID microchip, whereas you will be a complete slave to their in-world old system. Okay, whereas you're not gonna have any so-called rights. You're not gonna be able to own anything. You're gonna eat what they give you, which we already do to a degree, but you still have a quote-unquote option. But they're gonna ration out particular food to you. They're gonna make sure to have it to whereas your carbon, your CO2 footprint, your CO2 footprint's gonna have a particular number to it. Whereas if you go beyond a particular measure, they can cut you off from society. If you say something that they don't like, they can cut you off. If you do something they don't like, they can cut you off. You see, a complete and total enslavement. All right. Now I'm gonna get this word dystopian here because you may have individuals that may not know. All right, we'll get the etymology of the word dystopian. All right, so this word dystopian. Dystopia. So it's not giving me the etymology of the word itself. Let me see something real quick. Okay, actually it gives me dystopia. All right. So it says dystopian was used in a non-medical sense in 1868 by J.S. It really doesn't have anything here in the Edamon Online Dictionary, so we'll just get the regular definition here. So you see on the bottom, all right, it says dystopian. It says relating to or denoting an imagined state or society where there is great suffering or injustice. All right, let's read that again. It says relating to or denoting an imagined state, all right, an imagined state or a society where there is great suffering or injustice. And now does not the scripture say in Revelation 12:12 that the devil shall come down with great wrath because he knows that he hath but a short time? You see? And remember what's one of the key things at the WEF that Klaus Schwab stated. He said that you will own nothing and you will be happy. They already promoting particular foods that you can eat that's smashed up with cockroaches and crickets and bugs and things of that nature. Because now there's a whole thing going on right now where it comes to pretty much a lot of cancers and sickness with red meat. You know, you can go to the grocery store right now and you can see all this Beyond Meat. What is that? And that's been proven to show forth that kind of stuff, you know, whatever the hell that shit is, you know, it brings forth you know, it also brings forth turbo cancers, man. You see? So these devils, you know, they're implementing these particular ideas to slowly kill you. All right, to the point whereas you're gonna have to bow down and beg, you know, whereas you're gonna beg for this new system. You see, it's gonna be all kinds of shit breaking loose. Whereas you're gonna openly want to be embedded with this new system. That's why it says he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, that no man may buy or sell save he that hath the mark. And that word mark in the Greek is charagma. All right, that word is charagma, which is like an etching or a scratching. All right, then when you get that word karax, the root word karax, it goes into like an impalement or a rampart. You see, and that's going to be the instrument that's going to go inside. That's going to be the instrument that's going to inject, if you will, the syringe, for lack of better words, is going to inject. All right, the MOTB inside of you. All right, it says, would having your brain connected to the internet 24 hours a day be heaven, or would it be hell? It says today, a very large portion of the population is seemingly glued to their phones or their computers much of the time. You see, and if there's any kind of, you know, if there's any kind of blackout or, you know, attack on the grid or whatever the case may be, and people can't get on social media, they can't get on the internet, they can't get on, you know, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever the case may be, people will lose their minds, man. You see, people will lose their mind because everybody nowadays are so, you know, glued to their phones. You know, the elder Arianaza in our camp had did a lesson on that this week, talking about, you know, people are, it's like a dope hit. You know, this phone and the scrolling, this, as they call it, doom scrolling. It's all it's like a dopamine hit for most people, and it's really witchcraft. You know, looking at the black screen and, you know, scrolling. These phones, you know, is a blessing, you know, for those of us that use the phones to do the work of Yahweh Shema Shah, but it's also a curse because these phones can get you caught up. All right, the scriptures call this place, you know, the mistress of witchcrafts, in Nahum. All right, this is the book of Nahum, chapter 3, verse 4. It says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts. You see, and that's why, you know, the scripture also says, what Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. All these particular philosophies and ways of being that America, you know, spreads forth to these various different nations, they pretty much end up getting burnt too. But I want to get that word witchcrafts here in the Hebrew. That word witchcrafts is kashap. All right, that word in the Hebrew is kashap. All right, and you have sorcery. You see, and there's all kinds of many ways and forms of sorcery that are out here, man. Whether it be via these phones, whether it be via, you know, the foods that you eat, the radio frequencies and things of that nature that you hear. When it comes down to the music, of course, Hollywood itself is just a big ass witch coven. You know, all kinds of sorceries out here. Okay, it says, of course, sorceries. It says of Nineveh, personified as harlot, which America is modern day Nineveh today. Okay, so yeah, this is the place of the multitude of sorceries and witchcrafts here, man. You see, and the scripture says that whenever Babylon the Great is destroyed, that they repented not for their sorceries, man. And that word sorceries in the Greek is pharmakia, or pharmakia, excuse me. It might be pharmakia or pharmakia, one of those two. You know, but that's where you get the word pharmacy, how they get about by their how they get about with their pharmaceutical industry. You know what I'm saying? Which is they're really the biggest drug dealers on the planet Earth. You know. It says, but soon implantable brain-computer interfaces will allow these people to stay connected to their devices all the time. You see that? And it's going to be via, you know, the connectivity with the particular circuits and neurons in your brain, man. It says Apple, which Elder Apostle Tahar did a video on this yesterday. Apple has partnered with the shadowy tech company known as Synchron. Which, what does Synchron go back to? It goes back to syncing. You know, like when something is syncing, like if your phone is if a device is syncing, it means it's connecting to something else. Like if your Bluetooth has to sync, you know, if the Bluetooth on your phone has to sync to the Bluetooth in your car, it has to make sure it's connected, right? It says Apple has partnered with the shadowy tech company known as Synchron to develop a brain implant that allows users to operate digital devices by thinking. And they're already doing this. You know, they're already doing this with devices with Neuralink. I know Elder Apostle Tahar mentioned another company. You know, he mentioned another company in his video yesterday. I can't remember the name of it. But they're already doing this. You know, this guy had ALS, whereas he can't speak. And now they're able to, he was able to type out pretty much, not him, but he was able to think with his mind and create an AI video on X, and it had his voice. It was him talking, it was his voice and everything, you know. And this is it's the website here. Apple backs brain chip techs to control devices using thought. Okay, and this is some of his E's miracles that he mentioned. All right, and this is some of E's miracles that they mentioned. Let me do this real quick.
In the jugular vein and guided into a blood vessel near the brain's motor cortex. It picks up neural signals from the...
We'll take a look at this video real quick. This is fair use here. Fair use.
Define the smartphone may soon redefine how we use our minds to control it. Apple is teaming up with a neurotech startup called Synchron to make thought-controlled devices a reality, and the future might be closer than you think. The technology is called a brain-computer interface, or BCI, and at the center of it is Synchron's Stentrode, a tiny device implanted in the jugular vein and guided into a blood vessel near the brain's motor cortex. It picks up neural signals from the brain and wirelessly...
See, but you have individuals at different camps at the IUIC, but it says... the right hand on the forehead, it's in the jugular. That can't be the mark of the beast. You know, it don't matter if it's gonna be, it doesn't matter. If you put a device in your body, it doesn't matter if it's in your jugular, it don't matter if it's in your shoulder. It don't matter, man. All right? At the end of the day, they plan on implanting you with the device that's gonna link you to this cloud. All right, the cloud that they have set up. Okay?
Transmits them to external devices, no keyboard, no mouse, and no open brain surgery required. Synchron CEO Tom Oxley says the technology is transformative.
What we're doing differently is using the blood vessels as the natural highway into the brain and lacing the inside of the blood vessels with electrodes or sensors that can record activity from the brain. That platform then is like a Bluetooth out of your brain to control...
It's like a Bluetooth from the brain. You see that? And I just mentioned that. I just mentioned the whole Bluetooth thing. And this is Apple doing it. This is going to be Apple syncing with this company. And you know, Apple is a major corporation, man. Everybody has to have the latest and greatest iPhone. They come out with a new iPhone every year. You know what I'm saying? And they got to have the latest and greatest Apple products. And what do you notice on the back of that Apple's? What do you notice on the Apple logo? I rather say is the apple that's bitten. which of course it was in the fruit that was in the garden wasn't an apple. It wasn't a literal piece of fruit. You know, it was a philosophy that was given to Eve from the serpent, which that serpent, all right, was a man, really a witch, a warlock. You know, he showed Eve pretty much those statues that you see popping up all over the place, right? He showed Eve that, and Eve took that. You know, but it goes into pretty much tapping into that forbidden technology or that forbidden fruit. You know,
a computer or a device where there is no need for a keyboard or a mouse.
Synchron's tech is already changing lives. In this video, a man named Rodney, who has ALS, uses the implant and an Apple Vision.
See, I just mentioned that. And this is another guy. This isn't the guy I was talking about, but this guy has ALS, which ALS pretty much stops your motor skills from working properly. Pretty much you can't speak or anything of that nature.
Pro headset to text his wife, turn on lights and fans, and even feed his dog. To mark Global Accessibility Awareness Day on May 15th, Apple announced new features supporting BCIs across its devices, making it easier for users with limited mobility to interact with their tech hands-free. Apple has made accessibility a key part of its products for years, adding features that help people with disabilities use their devices. Recent updates include tools like voice control and sound recognition, and now built-in eye tracking for iPhone and iPad. This lets users control their devices just by moving their eyes using the front-facing camera. But Apple's new support for brain-computer interfaces takes it up a notch, making it possible for users to control their devices with no movement at all. Synchron isn't alone in this space. Elon Musk.
You see that? So they already have the technology here and the infrastructure here, man. Hey, remember the scripture. Let's go back to the scripture. All right, let's get Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, man, because we here, man. You know, we don't see this place lasting too much longer, man. Remember when this MOTB goes online, all right, and he calls it all, and this MOTB will be a worldwide thing. When this thing goes online, man, things are going to start moving super fast, and things are already moving quick as we see it now. You know, but when the MOTB actually is made mandatory, we're gonna start seeing things move at a hyper speed, for lack of better words. All right. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2. It says, "And Yahweh answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. And the vision is what? The prophecy. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie." You see that? So at the end, it's speaking, man. It's speaking now, man. You see? And all these various different camps that deny the MOTB being the RFID microchip being placed inside of your right hand, your forehead, your jugular, your left hand, your shoulder, it don't matter. All you camps that want to deny what the MOTB is, you're gonna see whenever it's made manifest, and you clearly see the manifestation of it coming to pass, man. It says, "Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry." And what does tarry mean? It's not gonna be delayed, man. Remember, the scripture says that the word of the Lord, it doesn't go out void. And once again, beginning with our apostles, bishops, you know, elders on down, this has been taught and this has been said time and time again. And we're going to sound like broken records whenever we mention the MOTB, because that's one of the last major prophecies that's going to come to pass before the destruction. You see? And it's here. Yeah, you have these major companies already linking together to bring forth this technology, you know, to make it come to pass. Whereas it's going to look like it's going to benefit you. Oh yeah, you can now control your computer with your mind, you know, with your thoughts. You see? It says here, imagine controlling an iPhone or MacBook with nothing but thoughts. It may sound far-fetched, but Apple's latest partnership suggests it could be closer than we think. We just read that in Habakkuk 2. The tech giant has teamed up with neurotechnology firm Synchron, developing a brain implant that allows users to operate digital devices by thinking. No typing, tapping, or swiping required. So they're gonna do it in the guise of convenience. It's gonna be easier for you to think what you want to say versus you having to type. You know, if you're driving, if you want to answer your phone, it's gonna be safer. You don't have to actually pick up your phone or whatever the case may be. If you need to text, You know, they tell you not to text and drive, which, you know, you shouldn't, you know, but we do it. I ain't gonna sit here and lie like I don't. You know what I'm saying? But you don't got to worry about that. Now, if you get a text message, you'll see it you'll see it just a hologram, or you'll hear it in your brain, and you could just say it out loud and they'll text back whoever texts you. And you don't got to worry. You can keep your hands on the steering wheel. Cool. And this is part of his miracles that, you know, the people are going to be the people are going to be deceived by. Revelation 13. The point is in verse 14. It says, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven, on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. You see, and this is some of these miracles that is mentioned here, man. It says, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had a wound by a sword and did live. And that image of the beast is the revival of the Roman Empire all over again, man. It's not just an image of Caesar Borgia, as the IUIC like to say. It's an image of white Jesus. No, it's deeper than that. Okay, that's a part of the image, but that's not the image itself. Because that had the wound by the sword and did live is the Roman Empire going down but coming back. All right, through NATO and the EU, spearheaded and operated by America. Okay. It says, interestingly, it is being reported that Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates are both involved with Synchron. And we know Bill Gates to be the founder, all right, of what? Microsoft. What? Micro, meaning small, and soft is software. You see? And then Jeff Bezos, you know, you already know with him and Amazon, you know, and how Amazon pretty much, you know, is dominating the world when it comes down to you know, shipping. And when I say shipping, what I mean is things getting to you via being you can get anything from Amazon, man. Anything. You see? And now you have, you know, these two, you know, billionaires, which they're low guys on the totem pole compared to the global elite. You know, the global elite are multi-trillionaires, man. I'm talking about they have so much money that you really can't even quantify it. You know? But Jeff Bezos and Gil Bates are funding this too. You know, which doesn't surprise me, because they're a part of it too. It says, unlike Neuralink's brain-computer interface, Synchron's device is not actually implanted inside the brain. Instead, it is actually located on top of the brain. See that? Let's go here. Apple is developing a brain-computer interface. This is May 13, 2025, right? The Cupertino giant is partnering with a Jeff Bezos-backed interface company. See that? The Jeff Bezos-backed interface company. Apple is in the early stages of developing brain-computer interfaces that would allow people, especially those with mobility issues, to control their iPhones, iPads, and Vision Pro headsets with a neural signal captured by a new kind of brain implant. Okay? According to the Wall Street Journal, Apple is partnering with Synchron, a privately held New York City-based company backed by Jeff Bezos and Gil Bates on the project. The brain-computer interface, or BCI industry is projected to grow significantly over the coming decades. Perhaps the best known player in the space is Elon Musk's Neuralink, which as of January has successfully implanted its devices in 3 people. See, so they already got people, you know, they're already testing this technology out on people, man. You know, this is already going on. You see? The way that they get synchronous device on top of the brain is by implanting it into the jugular vein and then navigating the device into a blood vessel near the brain's motor cortex. You see, and what's significant about the motor cortex? Let's look that up real quick. What's significant about the brain's motor cortex, simplified? The motor cortex is a part of the brain that controls movement. Here's a simplified explanation of its significance. It sends signals to your muscles to tell them how and when to move. So when you move, a signal sent from your brain to the particular, to the particular, from your nerves to that particular muscle to get a response that shoots back to the brain to activate, your movement pretty much. Every blink, thought, movement, it's all done in, by not even milliseconds. It's like an electric shock pretty much. Different parts control body areas. For example, one area moves your hand, another moves your leg. It's in the frontal lobe near the top of your head, right in the front of the somatosensory cortex, which processes touch. It says it's involved in planning and learning movements, not just sending commands. So it has to deal with specifically with movement. It says, in short, the motor cortex is like the brain's control panel for moving your body. Okay? So you will be able to have people who could be paraplegics, paralyzed or whatever the case may be from the waist down, neck down. They could have this brain interface that could cause them to now what? Begin them to move. Which are some of those, quote unquote, some of those miracles. You see? Are you paralyzed? You don't got to be paralyzed no more. Are you blind? Are you blind? Now you can see. Are you deaf? Now you can talk. Or now you can hear. If you're dumb, now you can talk. And the scripture says that the Lord is the one that created the seeing eyes and the hearing ears. You see? But this is Esau showing himself that he is, as the scripture says, I am and none else beside me. And he's doing it with this pseudoscience or with this technology. It says a lot of people will find this preferable to having the sort of open brain surgery that is required. Let me read this again. A lot of people will find this preferable to having the sort of open brain surgery that is required for other brain computer interfaces, because you're just doing it in the jugular. They don't got to screw, they don't got to go into your head and all that kind of stuff. Of course, I would never be allowing anyone to implant anything inside of me in any circumstances. And I'm sure that most of you feel the exact same way. And you have people that can quote unquote feel that way. You know what I'm saying? But when they bring forth this technology, all right, when they bring forth this technology to the masses, and whereas it has to be mandatory, and they bring forth events to make it to whereas you have to have it, you're not going to have a choice. And you're going to have a lot of people that's going to bow down and bend to this technology, man. But the Lord has reserved to himself 7,000 men. It's not going to bow the knee to the image of Baal, man. That's not going to take the MOTB. That's going to stand firm even to the death. Okay? It says, but this is where things are going. The goal is to create a dystopian digital prison society in which many people as possible. Let me read this again. The goal is to create a dystopian digital prison society in which as many people as possible are connected to the internet for as long as possible. Even if you choose not to participate, you will not be able to escape it. And that's why the scripture says back in Revelation 13, verse 15, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be what? Should be killed. And when you get that word killed, all right, that word killed in the Greek is apaktino. It says to kill in any way, whatever, to destroy, to allow to perish. Because if you don't take this MOTB, people will be actually put to death, whether it's by beheading, firing squad, or whatever. right? It says metaphorically to extinguish, abolish, to inflict mortal death. You see that? And then when you get the root word, which is apo, it says what? Of separation. It says of local separation after verbs of motion from a place, i.e. of departing, of fleeing. See that? So it's going to have it to whereas you're going to have to depart. You're going to be separated or killed from society. Whereas you're not going to be able to operate in the world that everybody else will be able to operate in. You're not going to be able to buy or sell save he that hath the mark. And you, like, it's clear. It's clear as day. What you see what's going on, man. What's his name? Elon Musk pretty much said that, you know, smartphones are going to be a thing of the past. Smartphones are going to be a thing of the past. You're not going to have to need no smartphone. You know, you're not going to have to need no smartphone. No, you are going to be the smartphone. See? It says, we are being told that soon millions of people will be wearing AI glasses that will be constantly gathering information on everyone and everything that they are pointed at. And they already have these glasses set forth with Ray-Bans. You know, they're called, Facebook partnered with Ray-Ban to create these meta glasses. Whereas you can do, like, you could pretty much pull up a hologram. You could play tennis, virtual tennis with somebody with these glasses on. You know, it's like an AI. It's pretty much connected with AI. You could look at something. It'll give you information on it. And it's through what? Through your eyes. You see? See that? Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is building a new surveillance state. Mark Zuckerberg recently took to Instagram to boast that nearly 1 billion people now use Meta across the company's platforms. To celebrate, he announced the launch of a new standalone app, encouraging users to check it out. It sounded innocuous, almost charming. Man, who will pity a snake? Who will pity a charmer if he's bitten, right? As if he were discussing a playful new feature. But make no mistake, this wasn't just a product release. It was a warning shot from a man who now has his hands firmly on the wheel of reality. The new... Hey, Slocky for that. I think my video stopped by mistake. I think I hit stop by mistake. You know what I'm saying? So Slocky for that. But I was saying, pretty much, you know, they can have these glasses. You know, somebody at your job could have these glasses on, and they could pull. You know, you could walk past them, and then all of a sudden, all your information pops up. You preaching on YouTube, what you talk about, and then you get reported. You know what I'm saying? And this is going to cause just further and further more division. You know, and the scripture says that what? The scripture says that ye shall be hated by all men for my name's sake. Let's get that. What's that? John 15. That's Matthew 5. Oh, Matthew 10. Okay, Salakia. Okay, this is Matthew chapter 10, verse 22. Let's start at verse 21. It says, and the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child. And the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. So it's going to be a point to whereas, you know, you will be hated, man. I mean, we're already hated to a degree, but it's going to happen, all right, even on a higher and greater level. And this is just further, you know, technology, if you will, whereas they can use, you know, this this technology of these meta glasses to pinpoint people who aren't operating to the status quo of society, for lack of better words. You know? Okay, let's do this. I'm a few more here, and I'm gonna get ready to wrap it up. Let's see. And they also envision a time when basically all commerce will be conducted using digital currencies, which that's something that we've been going talking about for the longest, sleepwalking into a cashless society. Central bank digital currencies would destroy any chance of financial privacy, but society is willingly moving in that direction. Central bank digital currency, CBDCs, where everything will be going digital. And that's exactly what this this MOTB is going to do. But that's mainly it. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. Once again, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders, the great millstone that taught us his truth and that's still teaching his truth. Much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, Lord willing, I say shalom.